Welcome back, everybody, from a busy Labor Day. I hope everyone's school year started. You know what that sound means. That's another noon whistle. I'm Chris Trottier.
And I'm John Anzalone, and our guest today is Tim Owens, Southern Lakes Conference Commissioner and longtime official. Thanks for joining us, Tim.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time. We're going to get right into it here, and maybe you'd give us a little background of where you come from and how you got involved to be the Southern Lakes Conference Commissioner.
Sure. So I am going into my second year as a commissioner for the conference. I was a longtime basketball official with the state, WIA, and for the NCAA. My career ended last year when I took over for the conference. I was 20 years with the WIA and 15 for the NCAA. I was retiring from college to spend more time with my kids as they got older, be home a little bit more on weekends and weekdays, a little less travel. In high school, I was going to continue to do it, but then when I was asked to interview for the Southern Lakes Commissioner's job, and then I got it and I was hired, I decided that it was time to call it a career because I am a firm believer that you are not able to run a conference. You can't officiate and run a conference at the same time. Some guys can do it, and God bless them, but I didn't want to add any more to my plate. So I decided to stick with the commissioner thing, and which I wanted to do for a really, really long time. When the opportunity presented itself, I acted on it. So
that seems like a big enough job in itself.
It is. It is. I come from actually a line of commissioners. My brother Dan is the commissioner for the Southeast Conference, and then my dad is the Metro Classic Conference.
So you guys argue over which conference is the best?
Yeah, kind of. When we go to events, we do. I was just at the Union Grove Shoreland boys soccer game with my dad, and Shoreland scored first, I believe. They went up 1-0, and my dad turns to me. I was standing behind him, turns to me, and just. And Union Grove scored. I did the same thing to him, and then they went up 3-2 and 3-1. Ended up winning, and he didn't want to talk about it after that. All of a sudden, it was it's not a big deal. So
I think you guys may have to have, like at Festivus, have a feats of strength, like in the center from Seinfeld on what the best conference is.
Yep.
Right.
They call the southeast part of the state the Owens corner, so we just keep to ourselves.
There you go. There you go. So before we get into conference commissioner, I put in the alert for this event, for this live stream podcast. You officiated when you said NCAA. You officiated some pretty big time. I mean, you went all the way up to the Big East. What other conferences did you officiate in?
I was blessed. I worked Division I. I worked in the Big East, the Horizon League, and the MAC. And then Division II, I worked in the GLVC, which is Parkside's old conference.
Yep.
I also, when they switched and transitioned to the GLIAC,
yep,
I went to that camp and I got hired and started working in that conference. And then Division III, I worked in like the WIAC, the NAC, the Midwest Conference, and then the CCIW. So I was blessed. I loved every minute of it. It's just, with kids getting older, it makes it really, really difficult to be a good dad when you're always traveling. And being a good dad was more important to me than continuing with my career. So
now let's get into the SLC conference commissioner. Sure. Big job. People don't know who the commissioner is until they need to know who the commissioner is. An event happens. But as you come in, you got a great background. Kind of what's some of your areas of focus, priorities? Because every leader puts their stamp on the organization. So what's one of your priorities now you're moving into your second year for the SLC now and moving forward?
So a big pushing point that I am pushing with my athletic directors, and they're all fantastic people. They're tremendous at their craft. But my big pushing point is sportsmanship. Sportsmanship with parents, sportsmanship with coaches, sportsmanship with players, and sportsmanship with my officials. Because I hold my officials to a very, very, as I was saying, I hold them to a very high standard, very high expectation. As I discussed earlier, like we're all coaches, players, and officials. We're all in the same business. We're just on different sides of the spectrum. So the officials are there to hold people accountable, hold themselves accountable. I hold them accountable. And there's a thing. One of the schools is doing You remember last year during a basketball game where the announcer made it was huge on social media.
Oh yeah, Germantown, was it?
Yeah,
Germantown?
was it Germantown?
Falls?
Yeah, where he made an announcement, and as an official, I 100% agree with him because it is so easy to just sit there and scream at officials. It's easy. I get it. I mean, I find myself sometimes wanting to yell when I'm coaching my kids' Kiwanis baseball team, but these guys are just out there, and gals are just out there. You know, this is a side gig for them. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what I've always noticed too is anytime a parent yells at official, the official usually puts their hand up and goes, "You know what? You're right. I'm going to reverse that call.
Yeah, no,
you had a better angle, and you could see it better than I did. So let me change that." Obviously, that's complete sarcasm.
Yeah.
The next play happens. Keep moving on.
Yeah, I mean, in all 20 years that I've been part of the high school sports, I've never seen a call get reversed because it's Tim Owens who's sitting up there says that it shouldn't be a foul or it should be.
Yeah, right.
I've never seen it. It's not going to happen. However, there are a lot of parents that actually do know the rules. You know, when I was officiating, and I think I was at St. Joe's here in Kenosha, I goofed up. You know, officials make mistakes. They're human, as we all make mistakes in our everyday lives. It's just going to happen. But I called something, and a dad actually knew the rule and said and made a comment. Wasn't happy with it, and I actually turned around to him and I surprised the heck out of him. I turned around and said, "You're absolutely right. You're right." And then that was it. And he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he turned around and talked to me." Like, you know, and it's also very humanly of an official to go up to a coach. Like if you kick the call, which you're going to, you go up to Chris Trotter and say, "Hey, I kicked that travel call, or I kicked that offsides." Like it goes a really long way with coaches.
Sure.
Well, officials are they're no different than players or coaches, right?
Right.
100%. We all make mistakes in game, out of game.
Yeah, but to sit there and continuously yell at them though about one call 10 minutes later, it's time to move on, you know. So
yeah,
sportsmanship is big with me. One of the schools, as I was getting to my point, has an announcement that they make if their parents are getting out of control, saying that WIA is always looking for new officials. If you want to join, please visit the WIA website, which I thought was tremendous. It was a very subtle way of saying, "Hey, let's calm down a little bit here." So,
yeah, enjoy the game, enjoy the kids playing, and let that be that.
Yep. I mean, the last thing you want to do is embarrass your kid. I don't want to embarrass my kid. So, you know, but hey, it's going to happen. Officials know they're going to get yelled at. However, there is a line you don't want to cross.
Yeah, there is. So what are some of your, I know you said sportsmanship as a commissioner and that, what are some of the things that the commissioner does day to day? Oh
God, that's a loaded question. We only have 15 minutes to go?
Yeah, just say one or two.
Okay, so I put the schedules together. Here's what I found. Sorry. I put the schedules together for the sports. And then I obviously assign all the officials. I run we have monthly meetings with the athletic directors. We all get together at a school and we discuss topics and things that we all want to see improve. I attend principals meetings every month. And then I run the social media accounts on Twitter and Facebook for the conference.
Okay.
And then one of the biggest things that the athletic directors really love is that I'm attending events. I'm getting out to the schools to watch everything. I have to I hold myself accountable and I hold myself to a high standard of my attendance at schools and being visible at all the schools. So I've gotten out to Beloit a couple times, out to Badger, Elkhorn, and I have a couple more schools to get to for the football season, but we have a long season to go. So
why does the commissioner have all these? Why do you have all these boxes in your?
Yeah. So this is actually not even all of them. I dropped off a few to the schools, but these are all trophies for the conference that I place an order, and then at the beginning of July, I place it. End of August, I go pick up. I load my car up. I head out to Milton and to pack my car with 32 trophies. As you can see, there's academic bowl, basketball, it's everything, tennis, volleyball. So I will be bringing a lot of these to our next athletic director meeting next week, handing them out to everybody that's posting.
So Tim, I know that I've seen on advertisements on streaming services and TVs at the WIA. You mentioned about 2 minutes ago that WIA is always looking for officials. So talk a little bit about the recruitment of officials. What are some challenges with officials? Officials appear to be aging. So just talk a little bit about, like some strategies to recruit officials. We'll start with the first one.
Yeah, so recruiting. So there's an association in my area in Kenosha. It's actually the Racine Lakeshore Officials Association, and they do a really, really nice job of recruiting, retaining, and educating their officials in a lot of the sports. There's some sports that they don't have, like track and field and stuff like that, but like basketball, baseball, football, softball, all kind of like the more, I don't want to say more popular ones, but all those sports. They do a lot. They bring in a lot of numbers, and the average age of an official when I was officiating, we'll say 10 years ago, was probably in the low 40s, as far as 40 years old. And now I think the last report I saw, we're pushing closer to almost 60. And I'm not saying these guys can't officiate, because they can. A lot of them are,
Sure.
Even some of them that are older do a really, really nice job. But you're going to see the average age really continue to grow up, because a lot of like the high school, I went out to Delavan last year and spoke to their officiating class. And I asked them, what's the biggest turnoff to you to go out there and officiate? He goes, we don't want to get yelled at. And we see these videos of parents attacking officials, coaches attacking officials. And that's not in our area, but it happens. And you never know what could happen, and they don't want to deal with it. And to be honest, I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to go out and get, attacked by a parent or a fan or whoever. I just don't. But we have to continuously encourage them to get out. That's not something that happens all the time at all. I haven't seen it in a really, really long time, other than what happened to me when I first started. But that was it, and that's been 20 years.
So Tim, hypothetically, if I wanted to be an official, and like I say hypothetically, because I'm not going to help your age bracket, but someone wanted to get involved in officiating and they're going to start out doing junior varsity games, what does a typical junior varsity basketball official make for a game?
It depends on what conference you go to. It also depends on what schools you go to. Some of them, it range
in general,
$50 to $60.
How about varsity?
Varsity right now, in different sports, it's a little bit different. And in the Southern Lakes, football is getting 85, basketball is getting 80, baseball gets 80, softball gets 80, and we just raised our fees, our officials' fees. And that also brings in people, because they see that number and they think, oh, that'd be a really good part-time job. Then you talk about what you make on the college level, and then all of a sudden they're really awake and wanting to pursue that. But it's just getting over that hump of dealing with the learning curve of everything.
Sure.
You play a sport, you think you know what the rules are, but you don't. You go and you're learning this. In my dad's conference, I think their football officials are making 90, basketball's 90. So it all depends on what conference you go to.
But you get to pick your own hours, right? If you can't do a day, you don't do it.
You're an independent contractor, so you can control when you want to work. Like if I don't want to work on a Friday night, I will block it. How I assign through the Arbiter Sports, which is a signing platform. And if John didn't want to work on a Friday, he can just go in and block a Friday. And when I go assign a basketball game, you're not going to pop up as available because you blocked it. So you can control your own schedule. You really can.
Sure.
I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Sure. So anything else new in the SLC Southern Lakes Conference that we should know about, or anything exciting coming up?
I am really excited that Beloit Memorial is in their first year, full-time year with us. John Dupuis, the athletic director out there, is doing terrific things with his school, with his department. Like I said earlier, our entire conference is just full of tremendous athletic directors that are really supportive, especially to me coming in and only being my second year. It's a big transition going from an official to a commissioner. Working on the floor, and then now you're in the administrative side. It's very much a transition, but they're all terrific. There's been a lot of success so far, with a couple people breaking records in numerous different sports, and to see that support from not just within their own school, but from surrounding schools in the conference is really encouraging, and something that I really love to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great athletic conference with great people who have been dedicated to, creating a co-curricular experience for all kids. And,
Yep.
I think what I really appreciate, you mentioned when you were talking about the awards behind you, is as a former high school principal and assistant principal in the conference, the conference works together to create a great experience for kids, whether it's academic or athletic. And they don't realize that the SLC has, an honor and academic awards for the top 10. They don't realize that the SLC has, a academic competition. And, there's a lot that goes into really coming together as a conference. So
Yeah.
we appreciate you doing that and kind of navigating the conference into the next phase. And there's some good fall sports going on. Should be pretty exciting to see. I mean, everybody gravitates towards football, but a little shout out to Elkhorn tennis. I mean, gonna be pretty impressive to watch them compete and hopefully go back to state. And obviously, Burlington volleyball carries a great tradition, and so it's exciting to watch.
Westosha's golf team, the girls' golf team.
Yeah, Ryan Dahl. I mean, yeah,
cross country. I mean, it's to see everything on, like, because I follow everybody on Twitter and I do my best to share all of the accomplishments of different sports and individuals and stuff. Obviously, I have a full-time job, and this is just part-time. But I make it. I try to get to everybody that posts something on the social media so we can acknowledge all of their successes. And like you said, our conference, I think, is one of the very few conferences that have the academic top 10. And when I first got hired, they had told me about it. I said, I think that's amazing. What is it? And we acknowledge the top 10 academic scholars from each school. And in I believe May, we all get together at the Cotton Exchange, and those 10 students come, they get plaques, they get their picture taken individually and as a school. Principals are there, the superintendents are there, and it's fantastic. The Forensics Bowl is fantastic. It's, we're not just an athletic driven conference. We also celebrate the academic side of the conference. And I think that's terrific. I don't know many conferences that do that.
Yeah. Well, we're about that time for some shout outs and thank yous. Tim, why don't you, we'll let you tee it off here.
Well, I'm going to start with my 3 kids, because if they see it and they notice that I didn't say anything about them, they'd be rather upset.
Yeah.
My son, Jack, who is going to be 13, my son, William, who's going to be 11, and then my little girl, who is 4, going to be 16, 17 years old.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. But I also want to give a shout out to you guys for doing this. I think it's fantastic. I want to give a shout out to all of the athletic directors and principals in the conference, because they deserve it. The hours that they put into their schools and their athletics and their student athletes is remarkable, and it's admirable. So that's all I got. But guys, Thank you very much.
Awesome. John, what do you got?
Welcome. Well, on the heels of the Walworth County Fair, reminds me how hard kids work for their 4-H projects and how hard farmers work and kids raising, cattle and everything like that, I'm going to give a shout out to all our ag people.
Nice. Today's, at least for most schools, it's day 1, but for others, it's day 2 of the school year. So I'm going to give a shout out to all the professional school counselors out there, especially at the high school level, that are welcoming kids, navigating kids' schedules, getting calls from parents, and making sure that every kid's schedules and every kid's school year starts out on the right foot. And with that note, Tim, thanks for being on. John, good seeing you again. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day. And it's time to close another successful Elk Works noon whistle. And to everybody who's out and about at the conference, if you see Mr. Tim Owens out there, go say hi. We're lucky to have him, and he comes from a great family, and he's also a Tremper Trojan. So that also doesn't hurt. So on that note,
thanks, Tim.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.